the defense industry in El Segundo, it has got such a long history. Can you just take us back to what first prompted it to become such a key area for startups?
If you go back to World War II, El Segundo was critical to the national defense system, with warbirds coming right out of El Segundo. I was actually in the factory that was making some of those airplanes back in the mid-1950s. It's still being used to this day. It's the largest wooden structure west of the Mississippi, and it still makes part of the F-18 fuselage. And that tradition and history of El Segundo being center to national defense continues today.
Bring us now to what it means for the town.
Well, El Segundo's had this long tradition of really bright engineers in aerospace, even in petroleum, working on really hard, complex problems. And today, we've got more PhDs and engineers per square mile probably than anywhere else in the United States. We've got a lot of companies working on space and national defense, many of which are SpaceX companies, as Tom Mueller, one of the early founders at SpaceX, who actually brought rocket technology to Elon Musk, because he likes to say you can't really throw a rock in El Segundo with hitting a SpaceX alum working on another company. So it's grown into new space companies, other industries now. We're seeing former space professionals working on hard tech industries like micro reactors, portable nuclear power, and all kinds of alternative technologies.
You mentioned there SpaceX alum. Does it matter, therefore, that SpaceX itself is looking to move out of California, move over to Texas in terms of a headquarters, at least?
Yeah, that would really be significant for the region. We would hate to see that happen. We have probably the greatest density of intellectual capital. So I like to say we're the most important 5 square miles economically in Southern California. So still got some very significant competitive advantages in El Segundo and Southern California. And people want to live here, people want to create here, and we've got this incredible nucleus of talent working on space and defending our country.
You say you'd hate for it to happen, but as and when it does happen, do you think it will tug away some of that pool of talent, or do you think you can insecure them to stay?
We're working on incentives to keep people here. SpaceX, as you know, has so much capital invested in Hawthorne. Started in El Segundo, then moved on to Hawthorne. So we'll do everything we can to keep the industry here. We're working with government officials at the DoD in terms of how to further enhance our manufacturing capability here in El Segundo. We're looking at incentives for companies to stay here as they grow into additional square footage with different rounds of funding. So we're going to do whatever it takes to keep the industry here.
Does that take outside investment, government investment? How do you ensure that you can build that infrastructure, keep it here?
Well, the good news is we can't really talk about which one yet, but we have a major venture capital fund that's actually launching in El Segundo with about $500 million for their first raise. This is former SpaceX people involved. We've also there's a lot of government funding, non-dilutive capital that's going into space and other national defense programs in El Segundo. So we're looking at partnering with all levels of government and private industry to continue to grow the base here.
What makes a community so rich, though, is diversity. And what's interesting is that you have background in the Navy, but you have background as an entrepreneur yourself, and not all of it in the space industry. How do you ensure that ultimately you diversify away from just space and manufacturing?
Yeah, we're doing it now. So years ago, we set out to reshape the brand identity of our city back 10 years ago when I was the chairman of economic development for the city. And we focused on other industries that we can bring here. And that's been happening. So in the last 5 years, what's really changed for us is the amount of venture funding. We have companies raising $50, $100 million and greater rounds. 5 years ago, that didn't happen here. So we're doing everything we can to work with those different industries outside of space, defense, and aerospace, which have traditionally been our strongholds, to grow the diversity of our revenue base. And we're actually a diverse city as well. We're 40% non-white, got people from all walks of life. It's an incredible place not only to build your business, it's an even better place to build your families.
What is perhaps the tension there is the reason we're seeing SpaceX move from Hawthorne is in many ways a political viewpoint on how to raise a family. Is that something that people talk of much?
Not in El Segundo, not too much. We focus on, we've got this incredible community, an incredible school district, great sports programs. Everyone that has ever lived here really cherishes their time here, wants to stay here if they can. And so for us, that hasn't really been an issue. It is tough. Let's be honest. It's difficult to do business in California, and we're working really hard to focus on our competitive advantages to keep those companies here, recognizing that we have a significant density of intellectual capital here in El Segundo.